So we're going to jump back into Rodric Williams' testimony to the Post Office Horizon IT inquiry, and he's discussing his role at the Post Office and whether he was aware of the increasing number of prosecutions based on Horizon data, as well as the suspension of sub-postmasters based on Horizon data following the issues that have been raised with the system. He also discusses his working relationship with Jarnail Singh, and while he doesn't appear to be willing to back up that he had positivity towards the sub-postmasters, he certainly doesn't want to make him out to be negative towards them either. If you do have a couple of quid spare to support our work, the links to Patreon and Locals are in our profile and description. Thanks for all your support. Let's jump into the inquiry.
Between August 2012 and moving to the remediation unit, did you become aware of the very high number of prosecutions that had been, and when you joined were still being brought against sub-postmasters by the Post Office?
I'm sorry, what was the date range again, please?
August 2012.
Until
you moved to the remediation unit.
I became aware, yes.
When did you...
I mean, I guess it would be hard not to be aware, wasn't it? Because regardless of whether you look at the Post Office narrative on this or, the potential alternatives, there was an increase in cases. Now, the Post Office narrative at the time tends to centre around we just couldn't prove what they were doing before, but they've always been doing this. But nevertheless, the net result of that is there was an increase in prosecutions of sub-postmasters during this period post the installation of Horizon.
Did you become aware of the numbers of prosecutions?
I couldn't tell you.
When you joined, were you aware that the Post Office was a prosecuting authority?
I don't know that. I became aware shortly after I joined that there was prosecution activity, yes. I don't know about the Post Office being a prosecuting authority, though. I'm not sure about that.
I think you're probably now aware that between 2000 and 2015, the Post Office bought some 850 prosecutions, resulting in over 700 convictions.
I am aware of that, yes.
Are you now aware that between April 2013 and June 2018, over 600 sub-postmasters were suspended?
No, I wasn't aware of that figure.
Did you have any role in that period, so that's 13 to 18, in giving advice over the suspension of sub-postmasters?
I think it's likely that I did, yes.
So you were...
And this is the thing, there's such a disconnect, because you see most people are really calm when discussing this, which is fine, but there seems to be a disconnect from what the actions of the legal teams within the Post Office were doing and the actual human effect that it was having on the other side. And I think it might be telling that new people brought in post-Horizon, in this case 14 years-ish after it was initially installed, they've just absorbed the groupthink of, we've got a lot of people stealing money for us here, let's prosecute them, next case please, next case please.
Were aware that although in late 2013, early 2014, prosecutorial activity ceased, the Post Office carried on suspending sub-postmasters?
Yes.
And what was your role in the suspension of sub-postmasters?
I would... So the part of the business that would be responsible for that was a group of people called contract advisors. And that team would contact me as a member of the Post Office legal team from time to time and ask me for my advice, my support, my input into a case they may be looking at.
And so was that whether there were sufficient grounds to suspend?
For the most part, that was their decision. But they might discuss a particular case to see what I thought whether there were. Yes, I think yes is the answer. I'm sorry, yes.
And that would make sense because the suspension itself isn't a legal process. I mean, it is a legal process in one sense, in that it is lawful to suspend somebody if you're accusing them of wrongdoing, but it's not a legal process as in bringing a case to court.
So when you were giving this advice, although the prosecution activity had stopped, but the suspension activity continued, looking at the matter generally, did you bring into account any knowledge you had And I think we're going to hear in due course it was an unfolding knowledge, a developing knowledge of bugs, errors and defects in Horizon.
Not that I specifically recall, no.
Do you know whether corporately the Post Office brought any developing knowledge that it had into account in that period? I.e., we've stopped prosecuting people. Mm-hmm. We're carrying on suspending people. Mm-hmm. We may be relying on Horizon data in order to suspend people. Should we be doing so?
I'm not aware of that, no.
And at this time, you would hope that these questions were being asked, because we've seen from other witnesses, for example, Stephen Bradshaw was sent articles many years before this period in time that they're discussing, where journalists were raising issues to do with Horizon. So it would make sense that it's at least in the minds that actually, even if we're not taking them to court, are we suspending them based on faulty data potentially? And is that worthy of investigation?
You make a point in your witness statement on a number of occasions that you were not and are not experienced in matters of criminal law. Is that right?
I would describe myself as not a criminal lawyer.
And this seems to be a bit of a common theme with many of the witnesses from the legal team, that they've not necessarily got the requisite experience in criminal law to bring the prosecutions effectively that the Post Office were asking them to do.
When you were giving advice to senior executives and others in the Post Office, did you make that explicitly clear to them?
I may not have done.
And in fairness to him, maybe that shouldn't have been an expectation on him, because they will have known his background, both education and professionally. When they hired him, you would presume that that would be one of the things they would review on his CV.
And why would that be?
Certainly when I joined, there was a specialist criminal lawyer. I had been...
Was that Jarnail Singh?
Yes, that's correct. I had been hired to attend to civil matters. And I, certainly to most of my colleagues, it would be well known that I wasn't a criminal lawyer and had no background or experience in criminal law matters.
And when you say colleagues, do you mean legal colleagues?
That's my first, yes, I did mean that.
I'm thinking about your clients, in inverted commas, even though you're an in-house lawyer. To what extent did you make clear to, let's restrict it at the moment, to senior executives to whom you were giving advice, that you were not a criminal lawyer, or you were not, using my formulation, experienced in relation to matters of criminal law?
I don't recall expressly putting that disclaimer on things.
You mentioned Mr. Singh, so by the time you joined in August 2012, I think he was the head of criminal law in the Post Office, is that right?
I think he was our only in-house criminal lawyer.
Yes, and I think he was described as the head of criminal law, even though he was the only one.
I don't recall him being described that, but...
Did you share offices with him?
Yeah, we had an open plan office, so yes, we shared that space.
He's given evidence before the inquiry and is due to come back. He's made a number of statements in emails and in correspondence which might reasonably be described as demonstrating disdain for subpostmasters. Was that an attitude of mind which you observed in him at the time?
No, I wouldn't have said that, no.
Did you instead form the view that he treated subpostmasters and the issues that they were raising with fairness and equanimity?
I don't believe I could comment on that. I wasn't close enough to his work.
So he's trying to say there that absolutely he doesn't think there was those negative feelings, the disdain that Jason Beer mentions there, but he's certainly not willing to put himself forward and say he didn't hold those views and he was treating it fairly. So he's trying to keep quite a balanced and open mind on that in terms of his testimony to the inquiry. And
I certainly didn't observe much interaction between him and postmasters at all.
Yes, I'm not talking about direct interaction. It would have been in what he wrote and in what he said in the office.
No, I don't recall that, no.
So if, thinking back, you formed an impression of him, you would have thought he would have treated postmasters fairly, would you?
It's not something that had crossed my mind, so I'm hesitating. If I could phrase it as a negative, I wouldn't have thought he treated them unfairly. I'm sorry. I'm just literally trying to think, trying to cast my mind back to our interaction in the office there, and it's what you're describing isn't something I observed, so it's hard for me to make a positive statement. I'm sorry.
How about this then? A conclusion that may be open to the chairman at the end of the inquiry, when he's heard all of the evidence, is that Mr. Singh had a defective understanding of the code for Crown prosecutors, a defective understanding of his disclosure obligations and the Post Office's obligations, and the duties of candour that a prosecutor owes in criminal proceedings. Over your years of dealing with him, did you have any concerns about Mr. Singh's competence and suitability for the role of head of criminal law at the Post Office?
Sorry, it's quite a long question and a bit in there.
I'll break it down.
Yeah, I think I understand it. I'm sorry. I don't think I'm competent to describe. I said I'm not a criminal lawyer. I don't know the extent to which he was acting compliantly with the prosecutor's code of conduct, for instance. I'm just not able to do that.
I mean, at least he's being honest about the limitations of his training and experience, I guess, saying that he can't possibly judge Jarnail Singh on something that he's not experienced in himself.
So your lack of experience in criminal law wouldn't have allowed you to form a view over his competence and suitability to perform the function he was performing, is that right?
I do not believe I'm competent to do that, no.